Dear Tim and Moby, who was Alice Ball? From Paul. Alice Ball was a chemist who developed an early treatment for leprosy, a disease that caused the skin to change color and grow lumps and tear it. It also caused numbness, which meant and if people got injured, they might not even know it. And those terrible injuries could get so infected that they lost fingers and toes. In the early 1900s, when Alice was doing her research, leprosy destroyed people's lives. But it wasn't the illness itself that was so destructive, it was the stigma or rejection by society. For centuries, leprosy was thought to be a curse from God. Many societies saw it as a punishment for sin or bad behavior. They thought that the people with leprosy were just getting what they deserved. So it was nearly impossible for them to get the care that they needed or expected. Around the world, they were banished or isolated to the villages for leprosy patients. By the time Alice was starting her career, the world had basically given up on her cure. But when a doctor asked her for help with creating a better treatment, she stepped up. Alice Augusta Ball was born in 1892 in Seattle, Washington. Her family was full of photographers, but back then chemistry was part of the job. Alice saw them capture detailed images using substances like iodine and mercury, and it was a magical introduction into the world of chemistry. She was hooked. She went on to study how chemicals be used as medicines or pharmaceuticals. She enrolled at the college in Hawaii and became the first woman and the first African American to earn a master's degree there. Remember this? This was the early 1900s when women were discouraged from college, and the most African American was recently segregated black people to kept out of the schools, restaurants, and hospitals that white people use. For Alice, working on a treatment was to help free others from unfair restrictions. But it was also a fascinating and unconquered chemistry problem. And at the time, none of the available treatments for leprosy were effective, and a called Mangora oil, and effective in Asian people, found that oil from Kamalandra trees. But some of them were relieved, but there were problems. Swallowing the drug caused intense nausea, so patients could struggle to keep it down long for it to help inject it, but it didn't even work so well either, but it burned something terribly for ages. Doctors and scientists have been searching for a better way to get the medicine into a patients, and Alice was only 23 years old. She was determined to find the problem with the oil. Was it or was it well when an oil in the human body is mostly made of water, which doesn't even mix with any oil? If could that be the solvent of water, it will work much better. Alice taught classes and labs during the day, work on the chloramedia problem in her own free time. She focused on improving its ability to be the solve to do that. She had to get rid of the chemical that keeps water away and replace it with a new part that will attract water instead of after months of tireless experimentation. She succeeded. Doctors began giving injections prepared using Alice's method for the first time. Many leprosy patients went on to remission after signs after all disease and disappeared, getting to the bandage. They were able to go home thanks to Alice's work. But eventually, tragically, Alice never got to see that. Before her death in 1916 of a long illness, and shortly after her big discovery, she was 24 years old. But her work continued to help countless people around the world, and it remained in the most effective leprosy treatment for decades in Thailand, and it helped so many that the king gave a chloramedia tree to the College of Hawaii as a thank you scientists know to keep on studying leprosy, and today and it's curable to help end the stigma problem. And it's been remained after Hansen's disease, after the scientists who discovered its cause. Hey, could you hold that sandwich up a little more?